Hey friend, I want to share something with you that has genuinely helped me during those moments when everything feels like it's too much. And it's like I'm not even on this planet anymore. When emotions spiral out of control, your brain is telling you to get away, to run, hide, fight. However, there's actually something you can do that brings you back to the present moment. It's called grounding. One of the methods that works really well, I found to be pretty simple also. It's called the 5-4-3-2-1 method. Let me tell you about the first time this clicked for me. I was sitting in my room, getting all worked up, and I felt everything spiraling. My brain was going 100 miles an hour. I couldn't concentrate or think straight. It felt like I didn't have the space to breathe, and then I remembered a technique I heard about that could help bring me back to earth, grounding. So I tried it. I said out loud, "What can I see around me?" I looked around the room and I said, my bed, my desk, my phone, the window, the light. And immediately, I felt a tiny bit of space open up. Then I asked myself, what can I feel? Physically, not emotionally. I noticed the blanket on my legs, the floor under my feet, the chair against my back, the temperature in the room. Another little bit of space opened up. Then I asked myself, what can I hear right now? I listened. The fan in the background, the distant traffic, the clock ticking. Another little bit. By the end of it, I felt back in the present moment a lot more. Not perfect, not completely calm, but back enough to think clearly. It was like pulling myself out of the fog and back into the room. My brain couldn't process both the emotional spiral and the senses at the same time. When I engaged my senses, the spiral interrupted. And that's when I realized this works. Not perfectly every time, but enough to make a difference. So here's how this method works. 5-4-3-2-1. 5 things you can see, 4 things you can physically feel, 3 things you can hear right now, 2 things you can smell, 1 thing you can taste. That's it. It pulls your brain out of the emotional spiral and back into the present moment. Why does it work? Because your brain can't do 2 things at once, like processing the emotions and process the senses. When you engage your senses, you interrupt the spiral. 5 things you can see. Look around the room and name 5 things you can see. This could be my bed, my desk, my phone, the window, the ceiling fan. Try to make it a little different each time so you don't get too used to it and it becomes just another boring thing you're doing. Don't try to make it perfect. Just notice what your eyes land on and say it out loud. The act of naming things forces your brain to look at what's actually around you instead of staying stuck in the spiral. 4 things you can physically feel. Notice 4 physical sensations you're experiencing right now. Maybe the blanket on my legs, the floor under my feet, the chair against my back, the temperature in the room. Focus on those things for a couple seconds. Feel the blanket. Feel your feet touching the floor. Feel the chair against your back. These physical sensations distract your mind, anchors you into the present moment and pull you out of your head. 3 things you can hear right now. Listen for 3 things you can hear in your environment. Maybe the fan running, the distant traffic, birds chirping. You don't have to make it intense or anything. Just notice the ambient sounds and name them. The act of naming sounds redirects your brain's attention from the emotional spiral to the present environment. 2 things you can smell. Notice 2 things you can smell around you right now. Maybe dinner being cooked, the candle, the room air, your own hands. If you can't smell anything in particular, that's okay. Just notice the ambient scent or lack of it. The act of focusing on smell is another step to pull you out of your head and into your body. 1 thing you can taste. Notice 1 thing you can taste right now. Maybe the aftertaste from your coffee, your morning toothpaste, or just notice the absence of taste. If you can't taste anything in particular, that's totally fine. Just notice the sensation or lack of it. This final sense brings full grounding and completes the technique. Why each sense works. Each sense engages a different part of your brain. When you name what you see, you're using your visual processing. When you notice what you feel, you're engaging your body in the present moment. When you listen, you're using your auditory processing. When you smell and taste, you're bringing full body awareness into the equation. Your brain literally cannot do both at the same time, process the overwhelming emotion and fully process sensory input. When you engage your senses, you create that gap between you and the emotional fog. And that gap is where you find clarity. That gap is where you find yourself back in control. And the beauty is, you don't have to do it in any particular order. Some people prefer to start with what they can feel because it's more grounding physically. Others prefer to start with what they can see because it's more immediate. The order doesn't matter. What matters is that you engage your senses and interrupt the spiral. So how do you actually use this in real life? You don't have to perfectly do all of them. Just name things you can see, feel, hear, whatever you can access in the moment. Say it out loud if you can. If you're in public, just say it in your head. But saying it out loud hits a little harder. Keep it simple. Don't try to make a perfect list. Just name what you can. Practice when you're calm. Don't wait for a crisis to try it. Use it during regular moments so that when you need it, it's second nature. Use it as a tool, not a fix. It's not going to solve everything. But it brings you back enough to think more clearly. I know this sounds almost too simple. Like, that's it? I just name things? And I get it. I was skeptical too. But I've done this so many times now and found that it genuinely helps. Not every time. No method is 100% perfect, and some emotions are too big for any trick to fix. But most of the time, a little bit of grounding goes a long way. The next time you're feeling overwhelmed and you don't know why, just try it. Engage your senses and see what happens. You've got this, friend. One more thing I like to do so I can see my progression and see if things are working or not is to track my progress. I created a monthly tracking tool that's 31 days long, so it will cover any month of the year, as well as a workflow to see if I was overreacting in certain situations. They aren't perfect, but they worked for me, so if you have any feedback, let me know in the comments. I have borderline personality disorder, and my emotions can be very, very strong. It took me a long time to figure this stuff out, so I thought I would share, and hopefully you can find some relief quicker than I did. Links for the tracking tool and the workflow are in the description if you want them. Like and subscribe if you'd like to know when I post new videos. I'm going to try to do at least 2 per week talking about what I've learned over the years. Hope it helps. Have a good day, y'all.